Your listeners, this is Evangelist Suzanne Neal. I am. We're going to take a different route on today. I have a young man in the studio with me that is dear to my heart, by the name of Johnathan C. Johnson. He is an author. He is a kidney transplant survivor, and in lieu of the Kidney National Awareness Month, I felt it necessary to allow him to share his testimony of some of the things that he went through as a teenager. And Jonathan, just say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, again, this is C. Johnson, and he's an author. He has a book, and the title of the book is A Fighting Chance. And my first question to him, and I want to give him the opportunity to share why A Fighting Chance.
Well, as far as the title of the book, as far as the fighting chance is technically because of everything I've been through my life. Again, like you said, as far as the kidney transplant, as far as kidney failure, I was diagnosed in 1999 at the age of 15. And the way it brought it on was actually high blood pressure. We were in basketball practice in off season as the end of my freshman year of high school. And we were doing some drills, and for some reason or another, as far as my body went numb from head to toe. And so my coach told me to go to the nurse's station, and she took my blood pressure, and it came back to be 155 over 100. And the first thing she said to me was, she said, "Well, I'm surprised you hadn't had a stroke yet." And when she said that made me feel any better.
Right.
But now I'm trying to figure out why my 15, my blood pressure is going nuts like this at this point in time. Of course, 15 years, as far as age-wise, no real health issues before that.
Okay.
And it just kind of came out of nowhere pretty much.
So that was the first time that you had ever experienced high blood pressure, or
Yes.
knowingly.
Yes.
Because it could have been something that was going on, but you just didn't know it at that time.
Right.
And that's what we want to bring to the attention of our listeners on today, is the importance of being aware of what's going on in your body, because we understand that early detection of anything
Right.
is
It's key.
key. It's the best protection or best detection that we can get. And so with that being said, tell me a little bit about your road. Where did you go from there?
Well, as far as the road is concerned, with the transplant road, honestly, when it first started, it seemed like it was going to be a pretty simple road. What ended up happening was, as far as my kidneys, we had some tests ran. Actually, first, I put it like this. The first part of it, after my blood pressure was high. Actually, as far as the school nurse called my mother, she came and she got me, and we went to a 24-hour clinic over in Lancaster.
Okay.
And of course, if you know anything about clinics, they're not
equipped.
right. As far as the technology is concerned, for certain things, they're just there. Like if you have a broken arm or a cut or something like that, they can patch you up and you're going about your day.
Exactly.
But on my end, as far as my blood pressure would never go down, it just stayed the same the whole day. And so the doctor on call at the time, he said, well, if I had to guess right now, he said, I think it's something wrong with your kidneys right now. He said, but I can't tell because we don't have again, like I said, as far as machinery to tell so.
Okay.
So he gave me a Z-Pack, and it was a blood pressure pill. He said, go home. He said, take it for 3 days, see what it does, then comes back, and we'll see as far as your results there. Well, I do that for 3 days. I go back in, and my blood pressure is literally still the same. It hadn't budged, it hadn't gone any higher, but it hadn't gone any lower. That was the problem. And so he figured from there, he said, I think it is your kidneys. And so what we did from there was, we ended up going to Children's Medical Center, but of course, whenever you have an issue that you're trying to go through, sometimes or whatever, as far as the stomach blocks come early, and the first stomach block that we had that came my way was we got in contact with Children's as far as the renal division was concerned.
Okay.
And the first thing they said was, yes, we would love to take him, but the problem is it's going to be a 3-month wait before we can even get him in.
Oh, I have a question for you. What are the stats? I mean, we know that high blood pressure is very common amongst, especially African Americans.
Yes.
Okay, so but when it comes to kidneys, and having that understanding, what are the stats? What do we need to be concerned about?
Well, as far as stat-wise, the main thing that as far as like communities are concerned, again, like you said, African American communities is the most at risk.
Right.
And a good part of the reason why we are most at risk is actually it's actually two reasons. Number one is the food that we eat, and then also a lot of times it is also as far as the jobs that we hold. Because of course just being there, of course our community, like Sunday dinners and fried chicken and pork chops,
Exactly. Yeah.
smothered gravy and cornbread and everything else.
Chitlins and yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then of course with jobs, unfortunately, like a lot of us work kind of like hard labor jobs, if you will,
Okay.
or whatever. And so of course the harder the job is, sometimes of course the stress level rises.
Right.
And when the stress level rises, then of course the blood pressure rises. And when it does it over a period of time, then of course certain issues you can have. So.
Okay, I want to ask you this. Okay, as a teenager, you said you were 15 years old, right?
Right.
When you started going through this. And as a teenager, is there anything that you can look back at that maybe had pushed you in a place of stress during that time? Is there anything that you can finger point that may have caused your blood pressure to go up? Because normally we look at teenagers as, just young people, and they don't really have a whole lot of issues, for the most part,
Right.
And if they do, then it's something that's noticeable,
Of course.
And so was there anything that you can look back on now that maybe you missed, or maybe that something was overlooked?
Actually, no. What ended up happening with my situation after I finally got diagnosed, as far as my kidneys, as far as the scan results, as far as the kidneys were the size of baby kidneys,
Okay.
and that was the issue. And whatever happened between, I guess, whatever age to the point of me being 15, 16 at the time, for whatever reason, my kidneys didn't grow with the rest of my body. And so what ended up happening was, because my kidneys were that small, it was only so much pressure that it could take.
Gotcha.
And so, of course, the bigger my body got, and the smaller my kidneys stayed,
Right.
and over time the blood pressure, I guess, just rose up.
I got you.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And so, what's to me when I look at that, and I think back on young people and the children that I've raised, we know to carry them to the pediatrician,
Right.
and let them get their well checkups and things like that, but that's one of those things that you may not catch
Right.
if you're not consistent, as far as with the blood pressure checks and things
Right.
like that. And we understand with this, in lieu of this being National Kidney Awareness Month, we want to take the time to let people know that this is real, this is important. It's important. I mean, you can be walking around in real good health one day,
Right.
and then the next day you lay flat out on your back,
Exactly.
and surely that was a whirlwind of an experience for you.
Right.
And I've read your book, and I definitely take personal interest in your book, but and I found it to be very inspiring.
Thank you.
I found it to be very informative. It's a whole lot more in this book,
Yes.
than just speaking of your situation with your kidneys and how your dialysis came about and your transplant from there. So how long were you actually on dialysis before you received your transplant?
Well, as far as a blessing for me, as far as dialysis process, I was there for maybe 2 months at the most.
Awesome.
Which was a major blessing, because most people, unfortunately, are there for years.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, well, as far as children's and pretty much any other facility that if you come in contact with, from what I know and understand, as far as the way that they gauge how the waiting list works is based on how you do while you're on dialysis, as well as how if you're missing doctor's appointments, if you're not taking medicine on time, if you're not taking medicine at all,
Okay.
or if you're not taking say like half your medicine but not the full,
Gotcha. So
daily
basically, if it's important enough to you,
Exactly.
then it's important enough
to them.
to them,
Right.
because it's all about you loving yourself
Exactly.
and you caring for yourself.
Exactly.
And one thing about, we know our nationality as a people, the African American community, we don't like doctors.
No.
We don't like checkups, we don't like visits, and we don't like, because we're afraid of the unknown.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, sometimes the unknown is what we ought to be afraid of, is
Right.
not knowing,
Right.
because the Word of God definitely tells us that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Right.
And the reason we lack knowledge is because we resist the knowledge.
Right.
It's not that it's not there. Sometimes we resist it. And I truly have the utmost respect for you, your journey as a young man, and how
Thank you.
God had truly brought you through life. He brought you through life. And Your book tells so much about that, and I want to really tell us this: where can we get your book if we want it?
Well, as far as my book, it is available actually on Amazon, and it's available on Nook as well.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working on trying to get it towards Barnes and Nobles and other bookstores like that, but that's a process within itself.
Okay.
But as far as with Amazon and Nook, if you want to, of course, right now you can get it right now from there.
Okay, awesomeness. Okay, so that is A Fighting Chance with Author Johnathan C. Johnson. It's actually, I want to give a summary of it because I have read it. I've read it actually a couple of times. And what this book entails, it tells the testimony of a young man that have gone from foster care to adoption to the kidney dialysis, being labeled as one that's not likely to succeed.
Right.
When I say not likely to succeed, because he was a ward of the foster care system, he was at a high risk, and because of that, there was, drawbacks,
Right.
whereby a lot of people didn't believe in you.
Yeah.
But as I read your story, you went on to college,
On the college.
and you got what kind of degree?
Well, as far as undergrad, I went to the University of North Texas, and I got my BA, of course, in political science, which is to me one of the hardest studies you can really do. But I also went on to get my MBA from the University of Phoenix in 2011.
Awesome.
And honestly, what I guess the negative reviews is what pushed me to do it actually.
Okay.
When my parents sat down and they told me, they said, well, look, this is what CPS said about you. And I actually read it for myself in black and white that, the most that he would do was going to be in high school.
Okay.
As far as graduation would be high school only if he completes that.
Mm.
And so once I saw that, I said, okay. And so came out of high school on time.
So in other words, that became your fuel.
For sure.
And I tell people this, we're down to our last probably minute and a half, and I tell people this, your pain will drive you to your purpose if you let it.
Agreed.
Or your pain can drive you to your grave if you let it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because a lot of times people that have gone through things that you have gone through come out bitter, they come out angry,
Right.
they come out frustrated, mad at the world.
Right.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that the hand of God is up on your life to
Right.
even have guided you
Yes.
through the steps of your life, such as as He have. And I'm gonna bring him back because, like I say, we down to the last couple minutes, or few seconds. But I'm gonna bring him back because, like I stated, people of God, if you have a child that, say, a foster care child that seems like don't have a vision, can't see past where they are, I encourage you to get this book. A Fighting Chance by Johnathan C. Johnson. It will inspire any foster child, any child in any way, because all of us at one time or another have heard people say you ain't gonna be nothing, you're not gonna make it, and this, that, and the other. But he is truly a witness. He is a vessel that God have brought him through great things in life. And so with that being said, Johnathan, I appreciate you.
Thank you for the time.
For coming in and sharing your testimony with us. And I want to bring him back. I want to bring him back real soon. Matter of fact, in April, we are doing the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And we're going to talk about that in April. And so with that being said, thank you for listening. This is Evangelist Suzanne Neal.